My father is the supreme golden divine dragon, my mother is the azure moon giant dragon, and I am a divine dragon hatchling, rare once in 1,000 years. But my kin wanted to devour me every single moment, simply because I have a brother. True dragons typically raise only one offspring per litter. If multiple dragon eggs are produced, the one with inferior quality will be eaten. The glow of my scales wasn't as dazzling as my brother's. Thus, I became the one they abandoned. Although my parents didn't choose to eat me, they still threw me into the most dangerous abyss dungeon to fend for myself, falling from the first floor of the dungeon toward the depths. I saw countless monsters within the dungeon. Floor 20. Finally, I landed on the 60th basement floor. This place is a dense jungle. Giant leaves blocked most of the impact for me. I crashed onto the ground, my body in immense pain. I stumbled forward, but the pain in my hind leg made it hard to advance. My leg was fractured, and my body had multiple injuries. Moreover, I am starving now. Even if no predator finds me, I will starve to death here. Just then, a purple-scaled snake crawled before my eyes. It had many red stripes on its body, about the size of a palm. I found no information about it in my inherited memories. I didn't know if it was edible, but I have no other choice now. I can only swallow it in one gulp. Only then can I survive. The snake tasted terrible, but I forced myself to swallow it. A warm current entered my body, and the energy from digesting it healed my right leg. My other external injuries were also healing at a visible speed. I can walk and run now. Now I can hunt other creatures to fill my stomach. But as soon as I took a step, a piercing pain shot through my right leg. This pain almost made me lose consciousness. Strange sounds kept ringing in my ears. I realized I had been poisoned. I struggled to push my body toward a pool of water. I collapsed on the ground more than once along the way, but I remembered my father's cold gaze, remembered the scene when my mother threw me into the dungeon, remembered my brother's contemptuous expression. These memories supported me, making me stand up again and again. Walking toward the pool, I knew I was saved. This is the spring of life. As long as I drink the water from the spring of life, I can remove the poison from my body. But I still couldn't hold on until I reached the spring's edge. I collapsed on the ground, my fingers touching the spring water, my eyes filled with reluctance. Damn, just one step short. Then I fell unconscious. When I woke up again, it was already night. I was still alive. I could feel that the pain in my body had vanished. I tried to stand up, and found that I had actually grown taller. I went to the spring of life wanting to drink some water, but found that the entire small pool had already dried up. I could only explore aimlessly in the darkness, until after walking dozens of kilometers, I finally found the footprints of other magical creatures. It was a herd of demon horned deer. I followed their footprints forward. Such a large population must have a fixed drinking spot. Before long, I found a small river, and that herd of demon-horned deer was drinking by the river. The leader of the demon-horned deer looked around, alert to any potential threats. Only the leader among them was a peak Tier 1 magical beast. The others had just barely entered the category of magical beasts. I moved through the grass toward the river, trying my best to avoid disturbing the herd. I planned to replenish my water first, then find an opportunity to hunt one to fill my stomach. When I reached the water's edge to drink, my body was reflected in the river water. My original golden skin had vanished, replaced by a purple-black body. Some red stripes covered my right leg, and there was a pale blue rune on my right hand. What happened to me? But I didn't have time to think much. The herd of demon-horned deer had already begun to move elsewhere. I took several large gulps of river water, and rushed toward the demon-horned deer. I charged at the deer at the very end of the line. It was a doe, with no horns on its head. I bit hard into its neck, but my body was too small, and my teeth couldn't fully penetrate its windpipe, causing it to cry out. This cry attracted the attention of the entire herd. The leader's horns emitted a white light, and a moment later, a wind blade shot toward me. I hurriedly let go of the deer, escaping from my original position. The deer I had bitten had red steam rising from the wound, and soon collapsed to the ground struggling. I don't know what is happening. This isn't an ability I possess. Could it be that snake? The magic horned deer leader is still staring intently at me. Its horns keep glowing with white light. Wind blades are shooting toward me. I couldn't dodge in time. A wind blade wounded my arm. I already lacked strength due to hunger. Although the wound wasn't large, it couldn't heal. Blood kept flowing out. I must find a way to recover my strength to hold my own against it. I immediately made up my mind. I rushed toward that corpse. I took a huge bite of meat. I swallowed it before I could even chew. My body recovered some energy. The wound also began to heal, but the feeling was completely different from previous healings. This time, it felt somewhat cool, as if soaked in a spring. I had no time to study the changes in my body. The magic horned deer leader shot several more wind blades at me. After dodging the wind blades, I charged straight at the magic horned deer leader. The magic horned deer leader lowered its head, revealing its sharp antlers, and charged at me. Charging at me. Its speed was so fast that I couldn't react at all. I was sent flying by the antlers, smashing into a giant rock, leaving me dazed and disoriented. The magic horned deer leader also rushed toward me. Those two antlers made me feel the threat of death. Just as it was about to kill me, a massive thunderclap echoed nearby. Then, a bolt of lightning struck down the entire herd of magic horned deer. A violent tremor shook the ground, and I felt a powerful aura approaching this place. I looked toward the source of the sound, seeing arcs of electricity lighting up deep in the forest. Two massive eyes suddenly appeared. I recognized the creature that had arrived. It was an adult thunderthorn dragon, a type of lesser dragon. It is known for its formidable attack power, and is a top-tier combatant among lesser dragons. It's over. I'm dead for sure. I closed my eyes in despair, but after a while, the pain of being torn apart that I imagined never came. I opened my eyes, feeling confused. The giant thunderthorn dragon didn't attack me. Instead, it sniffed me intently. The electrical organs on its back had shut down. I could feel its confusion. Although lesser dragons have great fighting power, they do not possess high intelligence. Perhaps it perceived my scent as its own kind. It slowly backed away. Just then, my stomach growled. The thunderthorn dragon walked toward the magic horned deer herd, and placed the corpse of the magic horned deer leader before me. A faint voice entered my mind. It was the thunderthorn dragon before me. Eat. Without hesitation, I opened my mouth wide, and tore into the food in front of me. My wounds were healed, and my strength slowly returned. For the first time in many days, I felt a sense of fullness. Before long, I had eaten the entire magic horned deer, and I fell into a deep, heavy sleep. I hadn't rested for a single moment these past few days. Now that I was full, drowsiness washed over me. When I opened my eyes again, I was in a cave. Beneath me was a small nest made of dry grass. Beside me, two other baby thunderthorn dragons were playing. I stood up. The two baby thunderthorn dragons noticed me. They walked toward me, looking at me with scrutinizing eyes, seemingly curious about where I came from. The bolder one of them shook its body, and an arc of electricity flashed from the organ on its back. Seeing this, the other one did the same, with sparks flashing on its back. They looked at me, a hint of expectation on their faces. I thought to myself, this must be their unique way of greeting. But I am not a thunderthorn dragon. I cannot discharge electricity. I couldn't respond to them. Then, the call of the thunderthorn dragon mother echoed from the cave entrance. Hearing this, the two baby thunderthorn dragons happily walked out. I was a bit confused. One of the baby thunderthorn dragons came to my side, tugging at my claw with its mouth, seemingly wanting me to come along. As we walked out of the cave, a massive tusked elephant corpse lay outside. The two baby thunderthorn dragons stepped forward to enjoy the delicious food. Just then, my stomach growled again, so I boldly stepped forward and began eating meat. After eating my fill, the two baby thunderthorn dragons continued playing, while I felt the power within my body. It was then that I noticed the edges of my wings, which hadn't fully grown, had developed some white patterns. I remembered the snake I ate when I first arrived here, a snake that wasn't recorded in any books. The patterns on my leg and those on the small snake's back were actually the same. It was truly quite inconceivable, but I had no clue about these patterns. After staying in the cave for a few days, I felt the warmth of a home for the first time. The thunderthorn dragon mother took great care of us. She would go hunting alone every day. The little thunderthorn dragons stayed by my side every day, playing with me. Every few days, the thunderthorn dragon would teach us different survival skills. Today was the day to go out and learn. After leaving home, I looked up at the sky. There was no sun, yet it was as bright as day. This is a characteristic of the underground city. I kept looking around. Some magical beasts in the depths of the forest were watching us, but they feared the mother's peak tier 3 strength and didn't dare to act rashly. The Thorn dragon mother led us to a riverside. Dense schools of fish could be seen swimming beneath the water. These were a type of fish called piranhas. Individually, they were very weak, but if one accidentally fell into the water, even a body as massive as a Thorn dragon's would be eaten in an instant. These fish cannot come ashore, making them perfect for the little Thorn dragons to practice lightning. The two little Thorn dragons tried to make their electric organs fire currents into the water, but the results were minimal. A flash of electricity sparked on the mother's back. Countless currents gathered on her back into a massive lightning pillar, crashing into the water. Countless piranhas were electrocuted instantly. The two little ones followed suit, and finally hit the water surface. Some piranhas poking their heads above water were hit by the lightning. Seeing the attack work, the little Thorn dragons jumped up joyfully. But just then, I heard a sound like a tide coming from the distance. I looked at the water surface. Other than some piranhas jumping out of the water, there was no other sound. Then there was only one possibility. One of the most terrifying killers in the underground city. Army ants. The Thorn dragon mother immediately became alert, calling the three of us to her side. The electrical organs on her back lit up, forming an electric circle around us. A black tide surged toward us from the distance. If you look closely, you would find that these were actually finger-sized ants. Indeed, they were army ants. Each army ant only had the strength of a tier 1 beast, but there were now over 1 million of them. Fortunately, the electric circle kept the army ants firmly outside. Those that touched the circle were instantly charred, but more army ants immediately pounced forward. I thought they would leave once they realized they couldn't break in, but unexpectedly, they seemed to have targeted us. Hundreds of thousands of army ants actually used their bodies to build an anthill upwards, attempting to attack us from above. After realizing their intention, the mother had to spend more stamina to turn the lightning into a protective shield. The army ants attacking from above were electrocuted one after another, but they did not give up. This couldn't be a permanent solution. The mother's stamina would eventually run out. When that time came, only death would await us. I had to find a way to break the deadlock. The two little Thorn dragons also channeled lightning to attack the army ants. I suddenly remembered the magic horned deer I had bitten to death. I looked at the fiery red pattern on my right leg, attempting to activate the rune on my right leg with energy. I roared forward and breathed a flame spanning dozens of meters. All the army ants in its path were charred. A path was torn through the army. Seeing this, the mother led us to break through the encirclement. In the 3 months following the encounter with the ants, I thoroughly researched my own abilities. I possessed the ability to devour other creatures. By eating them, I can acquire the strengths of that beast. This is not a bloodline ability. My only bloodline ability is the brute force of the golden divine dragon. This might be a special skill I awakened. With this ability, I can gain power rapidly. In 3 months, I devoured many creatures around me, but most of their abilities were focused on strength, which wasn't very useful to me. Now my body has grown to nearly 2 meters long. Although the size increase wasn't huge, there were many changes in other aspects. My wings can now support short flights. The color of my scales has also become darker. I looked at the gray sky. In recent days, the beasts appearing around us have become fewer and fewer. This can only mean one thing. A more top-tier predator has arrived in this area, and the Thorn dragon mother seemed somewhat anxious. We were resting in the cave. A wolf covered in blood and scars rushed into the cave. This wolf's right eye had been blinded by something. It stared hungrily at the Thorn dragon mother. This is a tier 4 magical beast, the blazing flame wolf, but it was severely wounded by something unknown. It stumbled into our cave while fleeing. In extreme panic, the blazing flame wolf gathered fire in its mouth and charged at the mother Thorn dragon. At such a close distance, the mother Thorn dragon didn't have time to discharge electricity. She could only fight with her physical body. 4 holes were bitten into her by the wolf's fangs. The mother Thorn dragon let out a cry of pain. Her sharp claws slashed at the blazing flame wolf, leaving several scars on its body. 2 small Thorn dragons huddled in the depths, shivering. I watched the battlefield intently. If the mother Thorn dragon fell, there would be no chance of survival for us. With such a commotion, the one hunting it has likely heard. I must deal with it quickly. I activated a wind blade, slashing at the blazing flame wolf's eye. It didn't notice my movement, and was hit hard by the strike. Paralyzed by the pain, it couldn't move. Seeing this, the mother Thorn dragon blasted a pillar of lightning at the blazing flame wolf, killing it instantly. The battle was over, but the oppression in the air grew heavier. I knew that the being hunting the blazing flame wolf was approaching. I looked toward the cave entrance. In the darkness was a shadow over 10 meters tall, holding a giant axe in its right hand, and a wolf's head in its left. I only saw its form clearly as it approached the cave. I instantly broke into a cold sweat. It was a Minotaur, a Tier 5 magical beast, one of the kings of the 60th underground floor. It wore armor made from the bones of armored dragons. The giant axe in its hand was still dripping blood. The wound on the blazing flame wolf's eye was caused by this axe itself. Seeing the Minotaur, the mother Thorn dragon grew panicked. She realized this was a battle that was simply impossible to win. She pushed aside a giant rock deep in the cave, revealing a hidden path inside, leading to an unknown destination. The Minotaur let out a low rumble. "Still want to run? In your dreams." With that, it threw the wolf's head. The head smashed directly into the ceiling of the cave, and the falling rocks instantly sealed the path. Our last way out was gone. This Minotaur can actually speak. For lesser dragons. Just what I need for some top-grade dragon scale capes. A chill ran down my spine. This monster possessed significant intelligence and immense power. We stood absolutely no chance of winning. We could only find a way to escape. The Minotaur sat before the cave entrance, using the giant axe to drag the blazing flame wolf's corpse to itself. The corpse of the blazing flame wolf was not yet cold. The Minotaur threw the axe onto the ground, tore off a wolf leg and began to feast. While eating, it stared at us hiding in the depths, its eyes filled with the amusement of toying with prey. The two small Thorn dragons shivered behind their mother. The mother Thorn dragon's eyes were full of despair. The process of waiting for death is far more agonizing than death itself. The mother Thorn dragon stood up firmly, shielding us with her body, hoping to use her own life to give us a chance of survival. Seeing this, the Minotaur sitting at the entrance let out a soft chuckle, completely dismissing the mother's choice. Soon, all the meat on the blazing flame wolf was consumed, leaving only some blood-stained bones and scattered fur. The Minotaur picked up the clump of fur. The Minotaur took the fur, wiped the blood off the giant axe, and strolled toward us, carrying the axe on its shoulder. Its movements were slow, each step feeling as if it were trampling on my soul, filling me with endless terror. The mother Thorn dragon roared loudly at the Minotaur. It was the most piercing scream I had ever heard. The Minotaur's eyes were full of contempt. The mother Thorn dragon's thunderous roar echoed throughout the cave. A massive pillar of lightning struck toward the Minotaur. Seeing this, the Minotaur didn't even dodge, letting the lightning strike him directly. He simply raised the giant axe in his hand, slashed forward, and literally tore the lightning apart. Then, with a single leap, he landed right in front of the mother Thorn dragon. Swinging the giant axe, he severed the mother's tail. But the Minotaur's leg was clamped firmly in the mother's jaws. The mother Thorn dragon let out a growl. I understood what she meant. She wanted me to take the two small dragons and leave. Feeling the pain in his leg, the Minotaur struck the mother's back violently with his elbow. I roared at the two small Thorn dragons, telling them to follow me. I led them quickly toward the cave entrance. Seeing us leave, the electrical organ on the mother's back operated at full power. The powerful current was almost too much even for the Tier 5 Minotaur. "You lunatic!" Then, with a massive grab, he ripped the electrical organ from the mother's back. The current stops. Blood flows uncontrollably from the Thorn dragon mother's back. But she still bites the Minotaur fiercely. The Minotaur is infuriated. He thrusts two fingers toward the mother, grabbing her eyelids. He flings the mother away. A punch crashes down. The Thorn dragon mother's spine is brutally snapped. With a leap, he jumps to the cave entrance, blocking our way. His eyes are full of disdain. "You still want to run? In your dreams." Saying this, he kicks me, who is leading, back into the cave. My body slams hard against the wall. I'm left dazed and disoriented. My body is covered in wounds. Then, the Minotaur steps on the older Thorn dragon's tail. The older brother screams in pain. Seeing this, he discharges electricity from his back, shocking the Minotaur. The Minotaur seizes the opportunity to grab the younger brother and puts him in his mouth. The younger brother's body bursts like a watermelon in the Minotaur's mouth open. Blood flows from the corners of the Minotaur's mouth, dripping onto the older brother. Seeing his brother's death, the older brother angrily activates the electrical organ on his back. roaring as he shocks the Minotaur. The Minotaur reaches out and grabs the older brother, squeezing hard. The older brother dies instantly. I am consumed by rage, charging at the Minotaur, roaring continuously. It is the roar of a true dragon. Flames erupt from my mouth, but they have no effect on the Minotaur. The Minotaur kicks me away again. I land beside the Thunder Thorn Dragon Mother. The immense force snaps my spine, leaving me unable to stand again. I continuously condense wind blades to attack the Minotaur, but they are all blocked by the Minotaur's heavy armor, causing not a single bit of damage. The Minotaur drops the lifeless body of the older brother, and walks toward me carrying a giant axe. "You little beast, die!" At that moment, the Thunderthorn Dragon Mother, with her last breath, despite having no electrical organ, triggers lightning to strike the Minotaur. This strike is more powerful than any previous lightning, for the mother has used the power of her magic core. The Minotaur dares not face this attack head-on, and retreats. The Minotaur sits before the cave entrance, staring intensely at us, as if waiting for the Thunderthorn Dragon Mother to die. The mother collapsed before me, sends me a telepathic message. "Are they still alive?" The mother is asking about the two who have already died, the little dragons. Her eyes were gouged out by the Minotaur, so she didn't see what just happened. My heart feels as if it's being pierced by needles. Even now, she still cares for her children. I look at the corpses on the ground, unable to bear it in my heart. After calming myself, I reply, "They are all fine, just knocked unconscious." "That's good, then I can rest easy." After saying this, her breath grows weaker and weaker, until I can no longer feel her telepathic presence. "I know you hold a great secret. You don't belong in this dungeon. It's okay if you don't want to reveal it, but you treated us like family. And for that I am grateful. I should be the one thanking you. If it weren't for you, I could never have survived in this dungeon." The Thunderthorn Dragon Mother struggles to gather her strength. "Don't cry. The dungeon has no mercy for tears. Only with great strength can one survive here. I don't know what that devouring power of yours is, but please eat me." Hearing this, it feels as if a hammer has struck my head, and I can barely see what's in front of me. "No, absolutely not." But the mother's insistent voice reaches my ears. "Eat me. I'm already finished. Eat me and merge with the lightning power in my body. Perhaps there will be a chance to defeat him. This is my final request. Eat me. Otherwise, none of us will survive. If you can survive, please protect them. And take them out of this dungeon, away from this hell." With those words, the mother's breath vanishes. I stare blankly at the corpse. A deathly silence fills the cave. The Minotaur looks at us with amusement, grabs the older brother from the side, and begins to savor him. "Eat the Thunderthorn Dragon Mother." I can't do it. Although she wasn't my biological mother, nor even the same species, but the time we spent together, its place in my heart had long surpassed everything. It became my true mother. But mother was right. If I didn't eat its corpse, I would have no chance of survival. I thought of my biological parents far outside the dungeon. Even if I stayed away from the dragon clan, could I not escape the fate of eating my own kind? Enduring the excruciating pain, I slowly crawled to the corpse of the Thunderthorn Dragon's mother. "What, are you going to eat your mother?" "Ha!" Its laughter was piercing. I opened my mouth and bit off a piece of the Thunderthorn Dragon Mother's flesh. Seeing this, the Minotaur laughed even harder, seeming very pleased to see such a scene of fratricide. As that piece of meat entered my mouth, I felt a strong sense of discomfort, as if even my soul was resisting, but I forced myself to swallow it. Today, I will kill the Minotaur at any cost. Yes, just keep eating in big gulps. Eat a bit more. Get a bit fatter, so it's easier for me to bite into you. I continued to devour the flesh and blood of the Thunderthorn Dragon Mother. My skin grew closer to black. Purple runes covered my right foot. My body continued to expand, finally stopping at 4 meters. I stopped eating. My eyes were filled with killing intent. I am now close to Tier 5. I no longer belong to any creature in this world, but a dragon of vengeance returning from hell. I roared loudly in the direction of the Minotaur. The massive sound echoed for miles around. A hint of panic appeared on the Minotaur's face. I could feel the fear deep in its bones. But soon, this fear was replaced by rage. "You are not a lesser dragon. You are a true dragon. True dragon, die." I simultaneously activated the runes on both legs, opened my mouth. Purple flames erupted from my mouth, burning away the bone armor on the Minotaur's body. I activated the white runes on my wings. In an instant, I appeared behind the Minotaur. With one swipe of my claw, 3 deep wounds, exposing the bone, were carved into the Minotaur's back. It let out a loud shout and swung its axe at me. I flapped my wings to retreat, but the Minotaur's axe still hit me, leaving a scar on my abdomen. But in the blink of an eye, the scar disappeared. I let out a furious roar. My claws clamped tightly onto the Minotaur's body, lifting him above my head. A blast of purple flame erupted. The purple flame contained both the searing heat of fire and the erosion of lightning. This strike left the Minotaur on the brink of death. I threw the Minotaur aside, stepping on the Minotaur with both feet. Why does knowing I am a true dragon make you so angry? You beasts of the true dragon clan, allied with humans, locked us in this dark, sunless abyss dungeon, while you lived in luxury in the Sky City, and you're still asking why I'm angry? He spoke while coughing up blood continuously, yet he continued to curse me. I drove my dragon claw deep into its body. It died right then and there. I won. I defeated the enemy that once threatened our lives. But I also lost. I lost my family once again. Forcing myself up, I walked forward, stopping beside my brother's corpse. Lightning sparkled on his back, but he could never respond to me again. I walked to the side of the Thunderthorn dragon mother, with tears in my eyes. I have avenged you. I'm sorry. I couldn't protect them. Just then, several loud cries echoed from outside the cave. They were Tier 2 monsters called Evil Soul Vultures. They smelled the blood in the cave and began to gather here. I let out a roar. They instantly fled the area, but I knew more and more terrifying creatures would come here. I cannot stay here, and once I leave, the corpses in the cave will be devoured by other creatures. So, holding back my tears, I devoured the Thunderthorn dragon, mother's flesh and blood entirely. Then I walked up to the Minotaur, tearing and biting into the Minotaur's flesh. After eating the Minotaur, a wave of heat surged through my body. I could feel the talent absorbed from the Minotaur, stimulating the power of the golden divine dragon. Two powers and talents raged within me, struggling for dominance. My body felt as if it were being consumed by fire. The intense heat caused me great pain. I stumbled out of the cave, heading toward the river. I leaped into the river water. The piranhas in the river instantly swarmed around me, but before I could get close, I was already consumed by the heat waves emanating from my body. The icy river water couldn't lower my body temperature. I remained unbearably hot. In my blurred consciousness, I felt a hint of coolness coming from afar in the river. I moved along this faint coolness and swam into a lake. The lake water was very cool, making my whole dragon self feel an unprecedented peace. I didn't even sense the killing intent in the water. Two Tier 4 crocodile shark brothers in the lake slowly approached me. When they were about 2 meters away, they opened their gaping maws and bit at me fiercely. Just as they were about to bite me, my body recovered. Dark golden scales grew across my body. My dragon tail swiped one of the crocodile sharks away and tightly gripped the other. Purple flames erupted from my mouth. The power of this move was not diminished at all underwater. The crocodile shark was severely injured by this attack. It thrashed its tail wildly under my claws, trying to break free from my control. But with my golden divine dragon bloodline awakening, I possessed strength far greater than its. It couldn't break my shackles. I opened my mouth and bit down on it, and just like that, I devoured it completely in the lake. The other crocodile shark I had swiped away also swam back, looking at the patch of lake water stained red with blood. It didn't dare to come forward. It even began to swim slowly backward. You think you can run without my permission? I shot forward like an arrow in front of it. I opened my mouth and tore off a piece of its flesh fiercely. In pain, the crocodile shark hurriedly swam back. I lunged in front of it once again, and breathed out a stream of purple flame, burning the crocodile shark to death. In the deepest part of the lake, a pair of purple eyes appeared, along with a powerful aura locking onto me. I looked into the depths of the lake. It was a giant red fish about 7 meters long, a Tier 5 magical beast, the red flying carp. It was moving at an extremely high speed, swimming toward me. Using the ability of the crocodile shark I just devoured, I leaped out of the water in an instant, standing by the lakeshore, staring intently at the water. The next second, the red flying carp burst from the water, spread its wings and flew toward me. I breathed out purple flames. Seeing this, the red flying carp could only dodge. My flames followed the carp's trajectory, scorching it relentlessly. The red flying carp had no choice but to dive back into the lake. Shortly after the red flying carp entered the water, several water spouts erupted from the surface, striking my position. I dodged the water spouts. The immense power of the spouts blasted several deep pits into the shore. The red flying carp leaped out of the water again. I gave it no more chance to return to the water, spreading my wings while activating the white runes and the the crocodile shark's talent. My speed was much faster than the red flying carp's. I gripped the red flying carp tightly with my claws, and pushed it toward the shore, pinning it firmly beneath me. Purple flames continuously erupted from my mouth. Before long, the red flying carp was killed by me. I opened my mouth and bit into the red flying carp's flesh. The white runes on my wings became more complex. After I finished eating the red flying carp, my body expanded a bit more. Now my body had grown to 5 meters, and I successfully broke through to Tier 5. I returned to the cave once more, said my final farewells to my family, left my former home, and embarked on a longer path of battle. After leaving home, I set out to find the exit. I searched for 3 days and nights without a single clue, until I discovered the remains of a campfire by a small lake. The monsters of this dungeon don't need campfires, so the only ones who could have left these remains are humans. I couldn't help but feel a bit panicked. The monsters in the dungeon are just stronger, but humans possess both wisdom and power. They are the enemies I least want to face this early. But humans cannot stay in the dungeon for long. As long as I follow their footprints, I will surely find a way to leave. I followed the traces they left behind and trailed them, only to find they had arrived at that cave. I hid not far from them, quietly observing them. This human squad had 6 members in total. They stood outside the cave discussing something. One of the female rangers kept sniffing something. Then she pointed toward the cave. Right inside this cave, there is a strong smell of blood. Our mission is to collect demon horns. Just the deer horns. Let's not cause more trouble. If the creature inside hasn't left yet, before she could finish, I think we can go in and take a look. If there are more precious materials inside, it could allow us to stay on the surface longer. The reward from the demon horn deer is enough to keep us from adventuring for at least 3 months. I feel like something is off about this place. Our party is made up entirely of A-rank adventurers, here on the 60th floor of the dungeon. Besides that Tier 5 magical beast, who could possibly defeat us? How can you, a berserker, be more afraid of death than I am? Hearing this, the masked man remained silent for a while. You are the party leader, and the paladin. The divine blessing upon you can sense danger. Check if there is any danger in this cave. The paladin was silent for a moment, and a white light emanated from him. There is no danger inside the cave, but I can sense a crisis coming from another direction. If you want to go for it, you'd better move quickly. Hearing this, the 6-person squad entered the cave. The mage who entered the cave saw 2 massive skeletons. His eyes widened in shock. They are Tier 5 magical beasts. Even the Minotaurs, Tier 5 beasts, were killed. Hearing this, the masked man's voice sounded terrified. Whatever could slay a Tier 5 beast must be incredibly powerful. It's likely another Tier 5 magical beast. This isn't a beast we can contend with. Let's leave the Great Mist City quickly, and report this to the Adventurers Guild. At this time, the male priest who had remained silent carefully observed the surroundings, and his expression became serious. Judging from the wounds on the Minotaur's shoulder, the creature that survived in the end had claws with 4 fingers, and its strength was staggering. Only a true dragon is such a creature. What? But aren't they all in the Sky City? Why would one appear in the dungeon? This dragon should have barely reached Tier 4, but it possesses bloodline suppression over other magical beasts. Coupled with the Minotaur being injured, it had the chance to slay its opponent. Hearing this, a fervent look appeared in the mage's eyes. We can give it a try. True dragons have no bloodline suppression over us. In our eyes, it's just slightly stronger than an ordinary Tier 4 beast. Killing this true dragon should be a piece of cake. If we can really kill this true dragon, our descendants will never have to adventure in the dungeon again. The paladin was also thinking. After a moment, the paladin spoke. We can try, but I want everyone's opinion first. If even one person disagrees, we must leave. Hearing this, everyone looked at the masked man. The masked man was also thinking. Although he didn't want to take this risk, the potential reward was equally tempting. Man, if this actually works, my whole life will have been worth it. The ranger also expressed agreement. Finally, everyone looked at the logistics person who hadn't spoken. Sure, the things I brought can at least guarantee that we can survive in the dungeon for 3 months. The paladin was very cautious and set a rule for the others. If we can find the target's trail before encountering the demon horn deer, then we hunt it. Otherwise, we leave the dungeon. I ignored their plan. After learning their identities, I had already changed from the prey to the hunter. The party's resources are all with the logistics person. Once the logistics person dies, they'll be forced to evacuate the dungeon, and I can follow them to find the exit and leave the dungeon. I continued to observe them for many days, and discovered they had their own combat formation. The paladin and ranger walk at the very front. The priest and masked man are in the middle. The logistics person and mage walk at the rear. When the ranger in front spots an enemy, the paladin steps forward to engage them in combat. The masked man draws his longsword to attack from behind. The priest provides healing and buffs to the two. The mage prepares to chant a spell. The ranger then retreats to the back of the team to protect the mage and the logistics person. It's a very rigorous fighting style, but it also has a very serious flaw. The ranger cannot handle threats coming from the rear. The chanting mage and the combat incapable priest can only wait for death. During these days of observation, I learned the common skills of everyone except the logistics person. I drove a herd of demon horned deer onto the path they had to take. Sure enough, after seeing the herd of demon-horned deer, they stopped in their tracks. Even when facing low-level beasts like the demon-horned deer, they didn't show the slightest contempt. They still faced the enemy according to their established formation. The demon-horned deer were retreating before them, but what they didn't know was that they were also prey to a hunter in the shadows. The ranger stayed alert on a tree in the rear, clutching his bow and arrow. A sound from the distant grass caught the ranger's attention. He drew the bow and notched an arrow in one fluid motion. The arrow pierced through the grass. Then, the ranger jumped down from the tree, wanting to see what was actually in the grass. Just as he leaped down, a sudden sense of horror washed over him. Turning his head to the right, he met a pair of golden vertical pupils. Before the ranger could speak, my dragon claw pierced through his throat, and he died in the night. The fake moonlight shone upon his corpse. His open eyes filled with terror, as if he couldn't understand how I could silently sneak up beneath him. I approached the remaining 5. The battle for the 3 in front was not yet over. With the priest's buffs, they held the advantage against the deer herd throughout. Victory was only a matter of time. In the rear, the mage sat on the ground, boredly watching the quartermaster dismantle the demon-horned deer. Where do you think that dragon went? The dungeon clearly isn't that big, so why can't we find any trace of it? I don't know, but all the true dragons in the world should be in the Sky City. It's too strange for one to appear here. Just the news of a true dragon appearing in the dungeon would be worth a lot of money. Sigh, why couldn't we run into it? What a pity. Seeing this, the quartermaster stopped his movements and spoke solemnly to the mage. Since the rules have already been set, then don't overthink it. Not encountering it might not be a bad thing. Yes. The mage then seemed to think of something, her face flushing slightly. Then, after we go back this time, do you want to go have a drink with me at the Roadman Tavern? The quartermaster looked at the mage with a smile, his mouth slightly open. Just as he was about to speak, a dark shadow passed across his face. The quartermaster became a headless corpse. Seeing this, the mage froze in place, her eyes full of disbelief. Holding the quartermaster's head, I slowly stepped out from the shadows. Why? Didn't you want to see me? Now I am here. The mage looked at the 5-meter-tall, true dragon with dark golden scales, her eyes filled with terror. Holding the head, I walked toward the mage step by step. The mage screamed out loud. This scream attracted the 3, who were fighting the demon-horned deer in front. I stepped forward and crushed the quartermaster's corpse with one foot, including the magic storage items on his body. Then I vanished into the shadows. The masked man was the first to return to the mage's side. He saw the mage sitting alone on the ground, her eyes vacant, pointing toward the forest ahead. Beside her was a pool of blood. What happened? A dragon. A speaking true dragon. Hearing this, the masked man froze in place. The paladin and priest, who had just arrived, also turned pale. Tier 5. It's a Tier 5 true dragon. This is not something we can contend with. Run toward the dungeon connection. As long as we can reach the guardian guards, we can survive. Hearing this, everyone turned and ran toward the north. I pursued them relentlessly. Before long, the priest fell behind. I killed the priest in passing, no longer chasing the others, but simply following them from a distance. 5 days later, they arrived at the foot of a mountain. This was the boundary of the 60th floor. The paladin took out a token, and a massive magic circle lit up on the cliff. Seeing this, I stopped hiding. A blast of fire erupted. The masked man couldn't dodge in time, and was burned to death by my flames. Half of the mage's body was scorched. The 2 of them jumped into the portal, using the talent of the devouring crocodile shark. I rushed into the portal like an arrow, cutting the mage in half at the waist. The paladin hurriedly fled toward a nearby gate. After entering the gate, the paladin sat by the doorframe, panting heavily. Behind that gate were two incredibly powerful auras. A rumbling sound echoed from inside the gate. Two massive shadows approached the gate, and I also realized what those two powerful auras were. They were two 20-meter-tall stone giants. Holding long swords, the stone giants gazed coldly at me, with two rubies embedded in their eyes. These were the power sources for the two statues. Magical constructs. Leave at once, or be destroyed. I gazed coldly at the two stone giants. These were the guardian guards the paladin had mentioned. Two guardian guards, one black and one white. Each of them possesses peak tier 5 strength. They were placed here to prevent magical beasts from escaping this connecting space. I have only just entered tier 5. The true dragon's suppression of magical beasts has no effect on magical constructs like these. Seeing that I had no intention of leaving, the ruby light in the white guard's eyes flared brightly. It raised its long sword and slashed violently at me. The guard's body was massive, but it wasn't slow at all. I pushed my speed to the limit to barely dodge this attack. I quickly activated the white rune and my Crocshark talent to create distance between myself and the two guards. Seeing me flee, they charged at me with their long swords raised. I opened my mouth and breathed out purple flames. The black guard slashed the purple flames apart. The white guard leaped high into the air, stabbing down at me from above. I flew aside to dodge the attack, but was knocked away by a strike from the guardian guard, landing far away. This is the final warning. Leave. I stood up, staring intently at the two guardian guards. Another blast of purple flames erupted. This time, the purple flames hit the white guard squarely, but it caused no damage to it. Warning ineffective. Eradicate. With that, the red light in the guard's eyes grew even stronger, and they swung their swords at me. I launched myself forward instantly, knocking off a part of its body, but I couldn't stop it from moving. It continued to slash at me with its long sword. I flew upward and lifted the white guard's long sword, causing the black guard's long sword to slash violently into the white guard. Under this strike, the white guard lost most of its body. I leaped up, kicking the long sword. The powerful force sliced the white guard in half at the waist. The upper body of the white guard fell, knocking the black guard to the ground, pinning the black guard firmly underneath. I stepped forward and pried the rubies from their eyes. They lost their power. I swallowed the rubies. After absorbing all the energy from the rubies, I gained the ability to animate inanimate objects. A gray rune appeared on my finger. I walked over to the paladin. Perhaps this paladin never imagined that those two guards would be killed by me. I stared intently at the paladin. His eyes were filled with terror. Please don't kill me. Once I'm out, I won't reveal anything about you. I ask you answer. If there is a single lie, I will kill you instantly. The paladin nodded repeatedly. How did this abyss dungeon come to be? This abyss dungeon was built using magic by the humans and the dragon race together. The dragon race drove all the monsters of the world here to keep them penned up, reaching a non-aggression pact with the humans. Hearing the paladin's words, I found it hard to believe. In my inherited memories, this abyss dungeon appeared out of nowhere, and the cooperation between the true dragon and the dragon race was initiated by the humans. But the information from the paladin suggested the dragon race betrayed their allies just to obtain a piece of peace. I stabbed the paladin to death, finding the key to open the connecting gate on his corpse, as well as a map of the abyss dungeon. The map contained detailed information for each floor and precautions. I also learned that every 10 floors at the connection, there are 2 guardian guards to prevent magical beasts from escaping. At the top of the map, there was a line of small red text. Floor 55, Eastern Desert. Sandworm has broken through to Tier 6. The Adventurers Association is currently handling it. Adventurers are advised not to go there unless necessary. A Tier 6 Sandworm. Interesting. If I eat it, I might be able to break through to Tier 6. In the days that followed, I continued to advance toward the upper floors of the dungeon, wiping out all the adventurers in the dungeon. I arrived at the 55th floor. I flew steadily toward the east, until I saw a bottomless giant pit. Occasional rustling sounds echoed from the pit. After flying down nearly 100 meters, I reached the bottom. It was a very peaceful desert, but the rustling beneath the sand reminded me that this desert was far from as simple as it appeared. Before long, about 50 meters ahead, the ground swelled. Rising dust clouds obscured the entire sky. I didn't dare be careless. I breathed purple flames at the swelling. A sand wall about 100 meters high rose before the swelling, blocking my purple flames. Then, a massive maw emerged from the sand wall and snapped violently at me. I flew upward rapidly. The sandworm's strike failed. It hid in the sand once again. An angry voice echoed in my ears. It was that sandworm. True dragon, how dare you deliver yourself to me? Today, I will definitely destroy you. Countless sand bullets surged from the desert, all attacking me together. In one particular area, there were signs of the sandworm surfacing. The surrounding sand collapsed toward the center. I easily dodged all the sand bullets and rushed straight toward that collapse. At that very moment, a massive shadow appeared behind me. It was that sandworm. It attacked from behind. Simultaneously, the sandworm's angry voice echoed once again. True dragon, die. With that, its huge mouth seemed ready to swallow me whole. I quickly turned and continuously breathed purple flames. At first, the sandworm pushed through the flames to bite me, but as the scorching continued, the sandworm felt the pain. It had to dive back into the sand. I also flew high into the sky. Judging from the sandworm's anger, the true dragon clan indeed betrayed their friends for glory. Suddenly, an anomaly appeared in the sky. Winds surged and clouds swirled around. Before long, a sand tornado had formed. Countless grains of sand were swept into the air by the gale. The sandworm emerged from the eye of the hurricane. Only then did I see the sandworm clearly. A brownish-gray body, encased in thick scales. It had no eyes. The front of its entire body was a huge mouth over 10 meters in diameter. This powerful hurricane was caused by this Tier-6 Sandworm inhaling. The sandworm soared into the sky, twisting its head toward me. The powerful sand tornado also shifted toward me. That massive mouth kept closing in on my position. The sand tornado also restricted my movement, preventing me from escaping quickly. Just as the sandworm was about to devour me, I breathed purple flames downward. The recoil and my own speed barely allowed me to escape, but those purple flames were sucked into the sandworm's mouth by the tornado. It hid beneath the sand once again. I think we can have a proper chat. I want to know a few things, but before I could finish, the sandworm's roar echoed in my ears again. I have nothing to say to your true dragon clan. You treacherous lot, die. It used the sand tornado again. This time, the sand tornado was twice as large as before. I used all my strength to trigger the purple flames, breathing them into the tornado. The sand tornado swept up all the purple flames, which were then sucked into the sandworm's body. The sandworm let out a scream of pain. The true dragon clan is indeed cunning. After writhing for a while, it went still. I successfully slew this Tier-6 magical beast, but there was no great joy on my face. I walked over to the sandworm, tore off a piece of its flesh, and stuffed it into my mouth. The sandworm granted me a devouring ability, specifically, the tornado the sandworm used. I activated this ability with all my might. The sandworm's entire body was swallowed by me. Powerful energy raged throughout my body. My body expanded further, growing to nearly 10 meters. The dark gold scales on my body glowed more brilliantly. I successfully broke through to Tier 6. After breaking through to Tier 6, my perception received a massive boost. I sensed that about 600 meters away from this sand pit, a group of humans had arrived. About 200 people. They were not like the adventurers I killed before, but were well-trained and well-equipped soldiers. I let out a long roar toward the sky. The massive sound put the human army on alert. I spread my wings and flew toward the army. When I was 200 meters away, I breathed purple flames. The powerful fire raised the air temperature significantly. The mages in the troop reacted quickly, immediately raising a water wall to block the flames. The steam produced by the collision of purple flames and the water wall obscured their vision. I used Devour. Within the steam, a powerful storm swept up dozens of people at the front of the troop, all of whom were swallowed by me. The steam dissipated, and the others saw my face clearly. Panic appeared on everyone's faces. A true dragon. Why is there a true dragon in the dungeon? Go wait in hell. I will send all the dragons of the Sky City down there to give you answers. I breathed out a blast of purple flames. The powerful fire burned dozens of people to death. Boom. The mages used the water wall again, but I simply increased the firepower, evaporating the entire water wall. The flames were unstoppable, burned most of the people to death. A paladin stood in front of the mage, raising a giant golden shield, ensuring the mage remained unharmed. I have slain countless magical beasts in my life. My only desire was to slay a true dragon. Thank you for letting me fulfill my lifelong wish. As he spoke, countless magical energies condensed around the mage. In this waterless land, he actually conjured several water snakes dozens of meters long, charging towards me. I breathed purple flames once again, mixed with a devouring tornado, forming a purple tornado hundreds of meters high, sweeping those water snakes inside, carrying sand and dust, swallowing all the remaining people. The mage remained safe under the paladin's protection. I slew the paladin and walked toward the mage. The arrogance in his eyes was gone, leaving only endless terror. Tell me, what is the contract between humans and true dragons? The mage looked at me. Then, A look of realization appeared on his face. So, you are a discarded true dragon. To be honest with you, we agreed with the dragon race to coexist in harmony. But the dragon population must be controlled. Good eggs are kept, while those with defects are killed. A pair of true dragons were unwilling to abandon their child, and chose to secretly send their second son out of the Sky City. But they were still discovered by the Sky City. Both true dragons were executed. Hearing this, rage burned through my entire body. I crushed the mage to death with one claw. My parents didn't want to abandon me. This was the only way for me to survive, but they lost their lives because of it. I can only continue to climb upward, determining in my heart to slaughter the entire true dragon race to extinction. I reached the connection to the 50th floor. It was another giant door. A loud noise echoed from inside the door. Two guardian sentinels with spears looked at me. Now that I've reached Tier 6, I no longer fear these things. I breathed purple flames forward. The powerful flames forced the black sentinel back. I struck the white sentinel with a claw, shattering its body to pieces. Then came the black sentinel. After dealing with the two sentinels, I arrived at the 49th floor, according to the map. From the 40th to the 49th floor were where the weakest lesser dragons were most concentrated. After the true dragons signed the contract with humans, magic and forging techniques that required dragon blood became extremely difficult to complete. So many people turned their attention to the lesser dragons. Through special magical purification, lesser dragon blood can be made to resemble true dragon blood. Thus, there are many dragon hunting parties in these 10 floors, capturing lesser dragons, draining their blood. I found a gathering place for a dragon hunting party. In the central cage, an earth dragon was imprisoned. Its brownish-yellow body was covered in scars. Beside it, many adventurers were greedily eating lesser dragon meat. There were also scattered lesser dragon eggs nearby. Almost all of them were destroyed. One of the adventurers picked up an intact dragon egg and smashed it hard on the ground. The egg fluid splattered everywhere. The earth dragon mother in the cage crashed against the cage door frantically, but she was stunned by the electric magic on the cage, continuously letting out mournful cries. Beside her, a person dressed as an alchemist cut open the earth dragon's body, collecting its blood. Sure enough, in the essence of a lesser dragon under such stress, the true dragon part is completely activated, allowing for better extraction of the origin. The adventurer who just smashed the egg walked to the alchemist, his face full of greed. This is a major discovery. With this method, I am confident I can monopolize the world's true dragon essence. We're going to make a fortune. Members of the hunting party nearby were discussing this earth dragon. This lesser dragon is so weak. How can true dragons even be strong? If you asked me, we should attack the Sky City and wipe out all the true dragons. You're right. If a true dragon came before me, I'd split it apart with one axe blow. Ha 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 ha. I looked at the earth dragon in the cage and remembered the thunder thorn dragon mother. My heart felt as if it were being cut by a knife. I stepped out of the darkness into the hunting party, breathing out purple flames, killing the alchemist and the adventurer instantly. The remaining members' faces were filled with terror. What the hell are you? My eyes were full of killing intent. Didn't you want to see a true dragon? I am here now. Then, ignoring its panic, I crushed it into pulp with a single claw. Then I killed all the members of the dragon hunter group. I opened the cage, squeezing a drop of my blood from my fingertip. I fed it to the earth dragon. A moment later, the earth dragon woke up. Its aura rose to Tier 3. Take the children and go back. I will wipe out all these pests. The earth dragon bowed its head to me, expressing its gratitude. Then it took the remaining intact eggs and disappeared into the night. In the following days, I eradicated the entire dragon hunter group on the 49th floor. I fought my way down to the 40th floor, leaving no survivors. I easily defeated the guardian guard of the 40th floor and continued to climb upward. Floors 30 to 39 were all under the control of creatures called goblins. I flew rapidly through the air, completely disregarding these wretched creatures. But the goblins saw me as a provocation, constantly firing arrows at me. For such suicidal behavior, I didn't mind sending them on their way. I breathed out a blast of purple flame, and the powerful fire consumed the entire forest. Every goblin in this tribe was burned to death. I kept moving upward. Now, the only thing in my sight was breaking out of the abyss dungeon, and the single thought of killing the true dragon. My overwhelming strength made the goblins afraid to act recklessly. Led by their king, they followed behind me, seemingly knowing I intended to break out of the dungeon. After easily defeating the golem on the 30th floor, I pushed straight through to the 10th floor. Above the 10th floor, most were just beasts, no longer falling under the category of magical monsters. And at the connection of the 10th floor, I encountered the King's Guard. It wore a stone crown, sitting atop a massive stone throne. Sensing my arrival, the King's Guard rose from its seat, holding a giant metal longsword in its hand. The blade was covered in engravings. The Stone King held the sword horizontally, and a red light glowed upon the blade. A blade of fire slashed toward me. I breathed out purple flame, colliding with the light blade, triggering a massive burst of energy. I immediately unleashed my strongest move, Purple Flame Tornado. The tornado completely enveloped the King's Guard, but failed to cause significant damage, only destroying the outer layer of the statue, revealing colorful ores beneath the stone. This ore was extremely hard, immune to both extreme heat and cold. My expression grew solemn. The only way now was to pry out the eyes that provided energy. But before I could decide on a strategy, the King's Guard charged at me with its long sword. Its joints were intricately connected, allowing it to perform movements other statues couldn't. The King's Guard's attacks were fierce. I could only defend, while retreating, searching for an opportunity to counterattack. I tried using magic to control inanimate objects, taking control of the King's Guard, causing it to lose control briefly, but it recovered quickly. The pause lasted about 3 seconds. Prying out both eyes was difficult, so I had to do it in 2 turns. I used the control magic again, accelerating with all my might, and rushed toward the King's Guard, prying out the crystal from its left eye. Then I immediately retreated. But I didn't expect that the time it took for the King's Guard to break free the second time would be faster than the first. It regained movement, and its left hand, which wasn't holding the sword, grabbed me tightly. The giant sword in its right hand pierced my body. I breathed purple flame into the King's Guard's face. The flames entered through its eyes, seemingly destroying the magical structure within. The King's Guard collapsed to the ground, and I broke free from its grip, pulling the sword out of my body. My powerful healing ability quickly closed the wound. Then, I immediately headed to the 9th floor. Just as I exited the 9th floor, I found a lone figure standing on the vast grassland, an old man dressed in a black robe. The old man's expression was calm. "I didn't expect you to actually defeat my guard, although you are strong, and I admire you. You have eliminated too many adventurers. I must end you here today. Save the chatter. Anyone blocking my path must be destroyed." The old man raised his staff, and a pillar of water appeared out of nowhere, colliding with the purple flame. Surprisingly, their power was evenly matched. Seeing that the attack had no effect, I used the purple flame tornado. The old man raised his magic wand and spun it around, swirling in a circle. Water walls rose wherever the staff pointed, protecting the old man inside. The purple flame tornado couldn't harm him in the slightest. I decisively gave up using magic and flew directly toward the old man, striking down with a claw. But it was steadily caught by the old man. The old man threw a punch, sending me flying. I spat out a mouthful of blood, but soon stood up again. My injuries were completely healed. With such a recovery speed, you must be the child of the golden divine dragon, the second son of that true dragon? I didn't expect you to survive in the dungeon. Cut the chatter, since you know. Then get out of my way. I will completely destroy all true dragons. With a tap of the old man's staff, my body was instantly trapped by water. A rare look of seriousness appeared on his face. "Then I certainly cannot let you leave. If you go out, the agreement between the true dragon clan and us will no longer be sustainable." I used the crocodile shark's ability to break free from the water prison, striking down with a claw. But a stone wall appeared between us, blocking my strike, blocking my claw. I increased the force, smashing the stone wall to pieces. But the old man's figure had already vanished. Not far away, the old man was chanting continuously. I instantly realized he was about to use a killing move. I covered my entire body in purple flames, charging toward the old man like a cannonball, hoping to interrupt his casting. But it was already too late. His spell was complete. This is a spell I spent my entire life developing, a forbidden level spell specifically for the golden divine dragon. Now, used on the sun, let's see the effect. The entire 10th floor turned into an ocean. I was crushed to the seabed by the water pressure. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't move upward. Even with the crocodile shark's ability, I couldn't escape this cage. Instead, I sank deeper and deeper. My eyes were filled with resentment. I thought again of the biological parents who abandoned me. Their gazes flashed before my eyes. I once thought those eyes were heartless. Now it seems they were a resolute choice filled with love. Just as my consciousness grew hazy, the voice of the Thorn dragon mother reached my ears. "Keep going, you can do it! Those two Thunder Thorn dragon brothers stood by her side. The electric organs on their backs emitted lightning, as if they were encouraging me. Their voices pulled my consciousness back. Heatwaves began to surge around me. The runes on my legs merged into black, spreading across my body. Dark gold scales were densely covered in black markings. My body grew once again. I successfully reached Tier 7. Purple-black flames continuously erupted around me. The powerful flames caused the entire ocean to recede, until my body emerged once more. I stared intently at the old man. Panic appeared on his face. "You broke through to Tier 7? What is happening to your body? This isn't the bloodline ability of the Golden Divine Dragon." My body instantly appeared beside the old man. From the moment the Dragon clan abandoned me and persecuted my parents, I ceased to be a Golden Divine Dragon. Instead, I am the Dragon of Revenge from the Abyss. Having said that, I crushed the old man's head in one grip. Using the power of Devouring, I consumed his corpse. The massive mana within his body nourished my magic. I breathed out a stream of purple flame. The power and range of the purple flame far exceeded before. When I reached the connection between the first and second floors, the teleportation array appeared before me. I could faintly hear a crowd discussing something outside the array. I slowly walked into the teleportation portal. At this moment, the crowd outside the portal was waiting for the kingdom's greatest mage to return in triumph. A young mage in the crowd stared intently at the portal without blinking. He saw a pair of golden vertical pupils. Then, his entire body was engulfed in purple-black flames, burned alive. Chaos erupted in the crowd. I immediately released a purple flame tornado. All the adventurers on the first floor perished. I looked toward the sky. There was a giant floating island in the sky. I knew that was the Sky City, the place where I must ultimately go for my revenge. I spread my wings and flew upward, but I was blocked by a barrier. This was a collaboration between the True Dragon clan and humans. The True Dragon placed its scales within this array, using the True Dragon's aura to ensure that the creatures of the dungeon would not dare have the courage to climb out. It is known as the Abyss's Lament, the true gateway of the dungeon, and the condition from the humans' side was that they could not attack the True Dragon clan. I looked at that golden scale in the sky, my eyes filled with rage. I could feel the bloodline affinity within that scale. It was a scale of the current Dragon Emperor, and a clansman connected to me by blood. The Abyss's Lament. How ridiculous. Today, I will let you witness the wrath of the Abyss. Carrying endless hatred, I enveloped my entire body in purple flames and charged toward the great array. As I drew closer, that dragon scale glowed with bursts of golden light. The array was also operating at full speed. The powerful magic made the entire sky turn gloomy. Thunder and lightning filled the sky. Countless spells circulated within the array, just waiting for me to touch the array, and these spells would devour me. My collision with the array produced an extremely strong magical surge. Under my full force impact, the magic circle remained unscathed. Several spells from above the circle attacked me. I spat out purple flames to neutralize these spells. I saw the golden light of that dragon scale dim significantly, so I covered myself in purple flames once more and charged at the magic circle. The color of the dragon scale grew even dimmer. I was certain this scale wouldn't hold much longer. Then I gathered all my magic into my right claw. The purple flames condensed, and my claw struck that dragon scale. With a crisp sound, that dragon scale was shattered by me. The entire array cracked as a result. The magic within the array, no longer restrained, flew off in all directions. The lightning in the sky intensified, and a rainstorm broke out. The distant forests were set ablaze. I looked coldly at the Sky City hanging high in the air. That city was unaffected by the magic. The magnificent buildings, under the sunlight, appeared exceptionally dazzling. I spread my wings and flew toward the Sky City. The purple flames around me grew stronger and stronger. Finally, they condensed in the air into a giant dragon shadow 400 meters long, which crashed directly into the Sky City. The massive dragon shadow destroyed half of the city's buildings, raising huge clouds of dust. I stood amidst the ruins, my eyes staring fixedly through the dust at the highest palace in the distance. The culprits who caused me to be thrown into the Abyss dungeon, the villains who drove my parents to their deaths, were all inside. The gates of that great hall opened, and a figure stepped out. Seeing that figure, I was consumed by rage. A stream of purple flames erupted, attacking that figure. He was the current prince of the Sky City. A light flared up in front of him, a silver light shield, blocking all of my purple flames. A silver-white giant dragon appeared beside him, the dragon queen of the Sky City. Behind them stepped a massive golden giant dragon, the current dragon emperor. Where did you come from, you wild dragon, to dare trespass into the Sky City, and even injure my clansmen? Today, you must pay a heavy price. I was furious. My my entire body covered in purple flames. Stop talking big. Just be destroyed. With that, my entire dragon body, like a cannonball, attacked the prince. The dragon queen again released a silver light shield, blocking the way in front of the prince. But she underestimated the strength of this move. The light shield shattered instantly. A look of disbelief appeared on the dragon queen's face. Just then, a figure blocked my path, using brute force to stop my body cold. The burns caused to its body by the purple flames healed instantly in a breath. It was the Dragon Emperor who had acted. He blocked this strike. Where do you come from, sir? I am the leader of the True Dragon clan, commanding all true dragons in the world. But I have never seen your kind. If you are willing, please join the Sky City. I am willing to appoint you as an honored guest. Cut the crap. We are irreconcilable today. This must be settled. With that, 2 wind blades flew toward the Dragon Emperor. The 2 wind blades left bloody gashes on its body, but they healed quickly. We are both at Tier 7. There is no need for a fight where both are wounded. Your Tier 7 strength was not easily attained. If it were to be lost at my hands, it would be a great pity. With that, behind me, several white light blades flared up. The Dragon Queen has made her move. Light blades struck my body, leaving several bloody gashes. In less than a second, the gashes disappeared. The Dragon Emperor was clearly shocked by this powerful recovery. His face was grim. In my memory, only the Golden Divine Dragon had such recovery power. It is a unique talent exclusive to the Golden Divine Dragon. Hearing this, my emotions became uncontrollable. A purple flame tornado erupted, destroying the remaining half of the Sky City. After distancing myself from the Dragon Emperor, I stared intently at them. True dragons who survived this disaster gathered around. You cast me into the Abyss's underground cave to suffer endless pain, and you persecuted my parents. Today, I will make you pay back 100-fold. You must pay the price. You actually managed to return alive. I took a step forward. Purple flames gathered around me once again. What, are you disappointed? I struggled in that hell, surviving, just to personally annihilate you all today. The Dragon Emperor's face showed a hint of panic. It's not that we wanted to do this. It was simply out of necessity. Hearing this, red veins filled my eyes. Necessity? For the sake of so-called stability. You could even abandon your own kin and brothers. What necessity could you possibly have? Stop making excuses. A claw struck down, leaving a wound deep to the bone on the Dragon Emperor's chest. Then, a blast of purple flame was sprayed onto the wound. The Dragon Emperor cried out in pain and retreated. That wound did not heal for a long time. Purple flames gathered around my body once again, enveloping the entire Sky City, dragging the Sky City down into the canyon. I used the old mage's magic, instantly creating endless purple flames within the canyon, devouring all the true dragons of the Sky City. They struggled upward within the purple flames, but it was all in vain. Instead, they continued to sink. I stood atop the canyon, looking at the sea of fire below. My heart was filled with complex emotions, the pleasure of revenge, and an endless sense of loss. Finally, I led the magical beast imprisoned in the underground city, breaking free from the shackles that imprisoned them for a lifetime, leading them to reclaim their former lands, to live and multiply. While I was branded with the title of Demon King by humans,